made it out early this morning, but we had the staff and our CEO, Mr. McGinnis, got going early, didn't we, Teresa?
Yes, sir.
But it was very, very good meeting. So at this time, in lieu of roll call, I'll just say that please let the record show that all commissioners are present. I noted the fact that it was in all caps and in red print that I was absent. So I like that kind of, maybe that'll be a deterrent for me missing any more meetings or other board members playing hooky. But at this time, we'd entertain a motion for approval of the minutes from the June 27th meeting. We may have an issue here, come to think of it, because Commissioner Smith's no longer with us. I wasn't there, so we only have 2 board members. Attorney, we've got 2 new board members. We've got, I was absent, so there's only 2 board members that attended the meeting.
Right.
Can they go ahead and approve the minutes?
I think they can go ahead and approve the minutes.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
Motion for approval.
Moved by Commissioner Sullivan,
Second.
second by Commissioner Willie. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Yeah, she was here, so I was the only one that missed. And then, for the approval of the second set of minutes from the August 15th, where we had the big meeting out at the Jackson Center. Normally, and I don't remember how this was handled, but normally we have, we convene for our annual meeting, and then we end that, adjourn that meeting, and then have our regular board meeting and segregate the 2 sets of minutes, and they're kind of combined here. Did you remember, did we actually do that, or did we just roll it all into one meeting?
We separate and have the board meeting.
Okay, so we'll need to amend these minutes to show that the election of officers and the activities that took place under the annual meeting, and then that we adjourned and had a regular August board meeting. You follow me? Can we go ahead and vote on this with it amended, saying that they'll be amended, or do we
I
need
think
to
we
wait?
can approve the minutes contingent upon it being separated to 2 very short meetings, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think we can have the motion to approve it contingent upon separation of 2 meetings.
And then Commissioners Crutcher and Lowe were not official in their capacity as board members, so we'll need the record to show that the 3 of us are approving these minutes. And with that being said, I'll entertain a motion for approval. Say aye. Aye. Approved. Any old business to come before the board at this time? Being none, we'll move on to new business, and I'll turn it over to Executive McGinnis at this time.
All right, thank you. I want to also thank everybody for being here today. Before we get started, I want to apologize to the board members for getting the packet out late last week. We had some items that we were needing to add, and so I'll take full responsibility for that. That definitely won't happen again. I know that when we have information that we need to get to you all, we need to get to you in a more timely fashion. So with that being said, again, I apologize for that.
Thank you. Accepted.
I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Teresa Wade for a financial report.
Good afternoon, Teresa Wade Chase, Director of Finance, CFO. So I'm just going to begin, and as I go through this, I realize the first item is, I can't do both. Right. My first item is to ask you all to act on a resolution authorizing the executive director to renew the agreement with Wellstone Incorporated Mental Health Center of Madison County to be the sponsor for the SNAP Sponsor-Based Special Needs Assistant Program Grant, which we call the SNAP grant, okay? And so this is my first resolution. Huntsville Housing Authority was granted renewal of the SNAP grant in the amount of $488,866 to be effective August the 1st. This grant assists 49 homeless persons annually who are disabled to chronic mental illness. HHA is required to enter into a contract with a sponsor to operate the program. Our sponsor is the Wellstone Incorporated. The justification is they have been previously the sponsors of this grant. We have worked in a partnership for over 20 years together. The sponsor will collect the resident portion of the rent, and they will pay the entire rent to the rental complex. The sponsor will be reimbursed by HHA for the SNAP funds after proper paperwork and has been supplied to the HHA finance staff, and we verified the information for accuracy. There are no alternatives, and a copy of the contract is attached in your board packet. So this is resolution number, let me get to it. Resolution 2022-2021, and I wanted to let you know that this grant is a yearly grant. It runs from August 1st through July 31st, and we apply for this grant. Usually right now we'll apply in September for next year's funding. Do you have any questions about this resolution?
So as we've done this in the past, it's pretty much described as a pass-through.
Yes, sir, it's a pass-through.
To the sponsor, this other entity.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Exactly.
You may have said this, you said no other alternatives or something. This isn't something that's like bid, is it kind of a foregone conclusion? We work with these.
Yes, we work with them. They are our partners, so when we apply, we have to submit that information that they are going to be our partner. We have a memorandum of understanding that's submitted with the grant, and we move forward. Yes, sir. So it's not a bid situation.
And then these residents are housed all over
All
those
over
different places.
within Madison County. Yes.
Do we house any of them? I guess that technically could.
No, sir, we can't
We
have,
don't
that's,
have project-based units where they could go in?
no, sir.
Okay. Okay, well, it looks, it's $10,000 person, and that'll be very helpful for the agency. Any other questions before we?
I just have a quick question, just seeking to understand. Are there any accountability standards tied to the memorandum of understanding, and how is that executed, so?
The memorandum of understanding, they agree, Wellstone provides the mental health services that the occupants need. And so what they do, they submit to us, as is stated here, the payment of rent that they make on behalf of the resident, which they pay the total rent. And then they also submit the documentation for where the resident has also paid. Those utility bills are also submitted to us too. Then they also submit their caseworker, not giving a name, but their hours that they have put forth, because we need them as a match, a 25% match to this grant and the amount that's funded. So those are what is presented to us. Also, our Section 8 department, they are responsible and they work with that team as far as the accountability. Yes, ma'am.
So you spoke to the longevity of the relationship. Is it a productive relationship? I've worked with Wellstone on several occasions, and they do amazing work, but I also know there's been some challenges and modifications with some of their other partnerships in the community. Can someone speak to, or can you speak to how well that relationship has gone, not just the longevity?
I haven't been made aware of any problems. The only problems the renting of the units and them finding spaces for individuals that will take the people that have the special needs are the challenges. As far as their personnel turnover, I don't know if they had a lot of that, but we've worked with the same accountant for the last couple of years. So I don't know about any of those type of challenges. But renting units, affordable units, especially for the tenants that present a challenge, that has been an issue.
It's working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got a follow-up question to that.
Yes, sir.
In the contract, it lists 49 homeless persons, and then later it says 49 units. I assume that 49 people and 49 units are equivalent?
Yes, sir. I mean, sometimes there is a spouse, but, you know, or they may have a child.
Right.
But, you know, we, depending on the unit, I mean, usually it's 1-bedroom unit, it may be a 2-bedroom unit too, depending on their housing situation.
Do they typically have problems placing 49 people?
It's been a challenge.
Okay, I guess my follow-up would be, if they don't place 49, what happens to the remaining funding?
It goes back to HUD.
It goes back to that. So that's a use it or lose it?
Yes, sir.
What is that utilization been like? What percentage are we, if it's been difficult to place, are they?
Looking at
difficult,
the-
but they're doing it, or is it
I'm sorry.
low utilization?
It's low utilization. This year, we have the past grant, the 2021 grant, we will probably, out of a $400,000 grant, and this is what I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, we may return about 160 of that due to the decrease in units that participants. But we had some participants move over to our mainstream voucher, which they were able to utilize. And so I know that they're working to get more people on the program and to get them housed, but the challenges are.
How does that number compare to previous years?
The
return?
The return. The year before that, and I looked at it today, it was only $29,000 we returned previously.
Any other questions for Ms. Wade Chase? At this time, we'll entertain a motion for approval.
I entertain a motion to approve. Motion to approve.
Mr. Sullivan, made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Lowe, Commissioner Lowe, seconded. Any discussion, among the board members, or other questions or anything at this time?
I think it's an amazing program, but my question will always be utilization, and if we're adequately assessing that so that we can get feedback on how we can increase utilization. So I think it's beautiful as written, but I would love to see there be some clear accountability matrix that speak to utilization.
Especially with, we all know how tight it is to find out. All those in favor of passing the resolution, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
My second item is to ask the board to act on a resolution authorizing approval of this is the second quarter charge-offs as of September 30th, 2022. I wanted to let you know that we bring these charge-offs to you quarterly 4 times a year. So this is the second quarter. The Huntsville Housing Authority has on its books $57,700.69 owed by former residents who vacated June 1st, 2022 through July 31st, 2022. The purpose of this request is to obtain approval to charge off $57,700.69 as collection loss for the quarter ending September 30th, 2022. This action is necessary to remove uncollectible accounts from HHA's book. The economic impact is an expense of $57,700.69. However, this amount is subject to partial recovery through the collection process. The breakdown of the charge-off is as follows. Rent, $49,678.20. Maintenance charges, $519.49. Court costs, $4,151. Late charges, $2,596. Bulk payment, 41 accounts for this third quarter. And I'll just stop right here and see if you have any questions before I go forward. Do you have any questions about these charge-offs?
It looked like maybe not the lion's share, but almost half of this was from L.R. Patton property we just visited across the street. Is that because of unit?
It doesn't seem to be the lion's share, so yes, sir.
Relative to the
Yeah,
numbers.
relative
You only
to
got
the
100 units, you
yeah.
got 400 at Northwoods.
And you also have to remember that the moratorium was lifted, and so we are now going through the eviction process for past due rents that were not correct, collected. We're going through our legal process. And you're also gonna see that in your financials, that our legal expense has increased because of the amount of evictions that we are completing. But when sometimes people move and we don't know, the residents leave, and so they have open balances, so that's the reason why our amount is large. But you also saw the units too. so.
Right, now we have to attach some of this to that.
Yes.
With LR Patton having the lion's share of that amount, if I'm reading correctly, and this may be where you have to educate me on this, it looks like it's only 3 accounts compared to the others.
Mhm.
Why would that be so high with just 3 accounts? Is that attributed to the reconciliation after the moratorium?
I don't have those details with me, so I would have to follow it with you to let you know, but I do have a breakdown by tenant. So there were 3 tenants there that had a large balance, and that was the total of the write-off. That could, I didn't bring it with me, I do apologize. I'll bring it next time, but it's 3 different accounts that evidently carried that balance, so.
My question was very similar to that, is that we've got 57,700 over 41 units, but last quarter it was 40,666 over 9 units. So per unit, it seems like it could be a variable figure
Yeah.
there. So it's just a breakdown as to why it would be almost equivalent amounts, but such disparate number of units.
Well, you can't really break it down by the units, it's really by the tenant, because tenants pay different amount of rent based on their income. So whatever that amount would have been, I can't tell you by unit, it would only have to be broken down in detail by the particular tenant. And depending on how much they owed us, that's how the amount we had to write off. But next time, Teresa will bring those details with her, so that I'm not guessing off the top of my head. Just not bringing you the summary, not disclosing the name of the tenant, but I can tell you tenant A, B, or C owed this amount of money.
It does seem like a lot, but it's like you said, with the circumstances,
Mhm.
with the moratorium and
Right.
with our situation over here across the street. Any other questions for Ms. Wade Chase?
I have one.
Yeah.
How many of these are evictions versus move-outs? Out of the 50 units or accounts?
Teresa's not ready on it today. I will have to send that to you in an email to tell you. I can't tell you right now, but I will. I'll do the summary that tells you how many we lost due to some of them passed. We have residents that have passed away. We have some that end up being relocated to nursing homes. And then we have different ones that are due to eviction or criminal activity. So that's my shortfall today. I do apologize, but I will email you those details after this meeting to let you know.
Most of them would be evictions, probably. Yep.
That's what the legal bill tells me, but most of them are evictions.
Anything else? We'd entertain a motion for, pass resolution number 2022-22. Is there a motion?
Motion for approval.
Mr. Sullivan,
I'll second
a
it.
second. Mr. Willie. Any discussion among the board or comments, questions at this time? Being none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay. My next item is a presentation of cumulative low-income housing finance report for the period ended July 30th, 2022. When I present this item to the board, I usually reference those items that have a 10% or variance greater or lower in total. If there's a particular item you'd like for me to speak to, then I can speak to that item. Overall total revenue, we were performing at a percentage of 7%. Also, total administrative cost is at 4%. The total tenant services line is operating at 13.1% under the budget. And this is due to the favorable variances due to salaries being allocated to grants until closer to the end of the fiscal year. Are there any numbers that you see here that you would like me to address on the first page of our financials? Or anything you need me to explain here?
You may have described it to me in
Well,
one of your last statements, but
yes.
the salary of 771, 220 that's budgeted, the actual 720, 523, is that due to open positions, or is that due to, like you just said,
in total to the services, what happens is that these salaries here are for the staff that services the residents. We have a grant that we get called the Ross FSS grant, and that grant usually runs from January to December. And usually with that particular grant, the funding of the administrative salary line runs out of money. It's fully exhausted. So then we take those salaries and we allocate those back over into our operating budget. So at the present time, we were funded better for the FSS program this past year. So at the present time, we haven't exhausted that line yet within the budget, so that those salaries are being charged to the FSS grant.
And kind of make a couple of comments along with it, but it jumps out to me, the cost of our employee benefits continues to go up. Are those numbers, I've asked this before, but it's been a while since we've talked about it, does that include our pension and retirement contributions?
Yes, sir, it does include the retirement contribution and our health care.
The main issue is the medical, the health care.
Yes, sir, it
Sure,
does
when
include
you
that.
add up all three where it shows benefits in the different places, we're at almost $1.8 million in benefits, and Blue Cross Blue Shield's passing on about 20% increases to a lot of clients right now, so we could be over $2 million. So I just wanted to put it on the board's radar screen, and Mr. McGinnis, I'm gonna discuss it. I think it's time for a review and possibly even looking for a benefits consultant. That's what my company does. I obviously wouldn't be involved in that at all. When I've offered my services in the past, they were not accepted because it was perceived that there might be a conflict of interest or something. To understand that, we were going to do it pro bono, but it's time for us to take a look at that. I believe our medical insurance renews in April. Is that right?
Ms. Jones, is that April or July?
July.
July.
Okay, so we got plenty of time. I thought it ran. I actually I know at this time we have a grandfathered plan and haven't been looked at or any changes made to it in a long time. So.
Right, yes, sir. Okay.
Very good.
Okay. Moving forward to page 2 of the financials. The next item that I will discuss is our protective services expense. Based on private security company, the private for 24-hour coverage, and there are additional costs when services are used during holidays. This expense will be reviewed. If it does not balance out, a revision to the budget will be needed. So what usually happens is I bring the budget to the board. Our fiscal year runs from April 1st through March. And so to approve this budget, I believe it came to the board in February. And then also when we get to in December or January, it's probably going to be January, I will complete a budget revision, a revision 2, and bring it back to you. And these expenses will be put more in line with the budget and what actually is happening within the financial part of the company. For total protective services. Also, total general expenses. The pilot expense occurs once audit is complete and the amounts have been verified. So we book audit expense, we put that expense through March 31st is when we complete that line item. Also moving forward to total other, which is over budget. Prior to this coverage period, our insurance deductible for damaged units were $10,000. When it was renewed April 1st, which we did not know at the time of the budget, the cost for us for damaged units is now deductible is $25,000. So it was not at the time of budget, so a budget revision will be needed at that time, and we will know of any other losses that we've had on damaged units also when I complete the budget revision. So overall, actual year-to-date, our net increase, and was what we say, not a profit, but our net increase is $459,980 in comparison to a budgeted decrease of $23,857. Do you have any questions for me about these financials?
Look at insurance people.
no, this is it, so, you know.
I'm sorry, Ms. Cox.
Yeah.
That's okay. Just a point of clarity, I understand the budget process on protective services,
Mhm.
but how are we off there? Was it, did things happen that we didn't predict would happen? How did we come up with that initial number? I understand the process for making the adjustment,
Mhm.
but how are we off in that number?
Well, when I did the calculation, I know that we decided to go with 24 hours at Johnson, I think, and then 24 hours at Todd, when we were planning on Johnson not being 24 at both properties. So that was, my calculation just wasn't on point.
Thank you.
For our new board members, I know that is a lot of information and a lot of acronyms, and I would hope that during the orientation period that Ms. Crutcher and Mr. Love have, they'll get extensive opportunity to really review how our money works, coming in, our revenues, and
Has board training on that website. It's called Lead the Way. That's the name of the training, and it's excellent training to explain, put out by HUD, or HUD sponsored or ordained. It just gives you a clear understanding of how we operate, how we're funded, most of our acronyms, so it provides you that information, because we have a lot of those.
And both, just to chime in on that, both classes to obtain the NARO certified commissioners, to obtain the certified commissioner certification through NARO, it will cover a lot of it also.
Commissioner Sullivan's got a whole different set of acronyms from DOD, so he's kind of our acronym expert, specialist over there.
Okay, so
Anybody got any other questions or comments about the financials?
thank you.
Thank you for that outstanding report.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, it looks like we're moving into executive report here. We talk about our LR patent.
All right, I'm gonna ask Terkeisha to come over. She's gonna give us an update on development, modernization project, and the FSS program.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Hope all is well. Just want to give a heartfelt welcome to Mr. Lowe and Ms. Crutcher. We look forward to doing some good work together. My first item on the agenda is the request for the board to take action on the approval of the modernization project for LR Patton. Act on a resolution approving the modernization project. This activity is included in our approved capital 5-year plan. And as you can see, some of those units are currently vacant in order to prepare for these modernization activities. The purpose of this request is to improve the conditions of LR Patton. I'm so glad that some of you had an opportunity to go over and take a look at those units. And as you can see, those units are in pretty deplorable condition. So we want to, as the Housing Authority, make sure that we adhere to our mission of being able to preserve those affordable units for our families moving forward. The justification, the physical improvements will reduce the number of units that are vacant and substandard. It gives the project location in your request for board action. It explains to you how many units that we're trying to undertake. And it also gives you a list of the activities that we're going to perform in that modernization. The economic impact of this about $40,000 per unit. This is resolution number 2022-23. Whereas the Huntsville Housing Authority solicited bids for this project for LR Patton. It gives you the 2 bids that we received. HHA staff determined that the lowest responsive and responsible bidder was RYZ EC Group. Now, therefore, be it resolved resolved that the Board of Commissioners of HHA hereby approves the modernization project of L.R. Patton, and further resolves that the Executive Director, CEO, is hereby directed to operate in accordance with the plan as approved. Also in your packet, you have a budget for the L.R. Patton modernization project. You also have transition of tenants. And then you also have the drawings that shows the modernization activities. So at this point, I'll open the floor for any questions if you guys have them.
Thank you very much for that presentation. I anticipate there'll be quite a few questions. But I'll start off. It says we have 110 units. There's 100 three-bedroom and 10 one-bedroom. Is that accurate?
So I'm going to defer to Mike.
The 10 extra units, Mr. Fountain, are the two buildings that are flat, they're not the two-story buildings that are located on farmers. Those are for elderly handicap usage, and they don't have the same 100 units that are family units.
They're not going to be included in the project.
They don't have the upstairs bathrooms with all the problems with plumbing and leaking, and they just don't have the same issues that we have in the Hungry family.
Just to,
When they were constructed, they were two different communities. We combined them together to make the 110 when we went to site base. So that's the difference in the two numbers.
okay, thank you for that, Mike. So just to set the context for this and really kind of hit the reset button, I appreciated your remarks and apologies for the meeting because we didn't get the information, not like we normally do with much lead time. And also, we hadn't really discussed this or weren't, as a board, I was not aware that the project was going to be presented at this time. So I went back and, as Ms. Wade Chase pointed out in our discussion Thursday, I know in the past we've, worked off of our 5-year plan as it comes, but we defer from it from time to time. It's not like it's the Bible, and we're trying to follow it as closely as we should, the scriptures. But also, I wanted to look back at our strategic plan and see what kind of discussion we'd had. There was a little information in here that may be interesting as well as informative. It mentioned, it says L.R. Patton, 110 units, was built in 1992 at a cost of $4.6 million. It was named for Leander R. Patton, the first black member of the Huntsville Housing Authority's board. He worked at Alabama A&M for 40 years and was vice president for business and finance until he retired in 1985. This development has 110 units, 100 are three-bedroom units, and 10 are one-bedroom units. Although L.R. Patton is close to Butler Terrace and Butler Terrace Addition, it is not included in the C&I grant, as Mr. McGinnis has stated and emphasized. This property is prime for some capital improvement dollars, and although it is a newer development, the property needs major help. So we worked on that last year. It became an integral part of our strategic plan. But even with that and looking at the 5-year plan, I was still kind of on the fence, and I even talked to Mr. McGinnis 2 or 3 times over the weekend about this, and Friday night we had a pretty spirited conversation. Our mission here, also from the strategic plan, states right up at the front, high standard, we're to develop, preserve a high standard of safe, affordable housing, and that's what he kept saying. Number one, it's unsafe right now, which we saw on our tour this morning. It's unsanitary, it's unsafe, and there's nowhere for us to move, you know, that's the main issue. I would really maybe lean toward a relocation, and look at our other options here, but we don't have anywhere for our customers, our residents to go. So I've shifted gears. Like I say, I'm sure there's still gonna be a lot of discussion and conversation, but I'm supportive of the resolution, and have come a long way since last Thursday. So just wanted to get all that on the table. I may have some more questions and comments as we go, but I'll stop talking for now and see if any of the other commissioners have anything they'd like to put on the table.
My only observation is, and I'm still seeking to understand and learn the processes, but just the turnaround time was pretty tough to be able to digest all the information that was there. So just a statement moving forward for me, if you all take the time to put together something like this, I'm gonna take the time to really get in there and digest it. And I didn't feel like I was given sufficient time to do that. So I wanna say that for the record, that I wanna be able to partner well, and more of a window would be good. Now, with that being said, I did go by on Friday, went back by again this morning, and then went into the unit just now. And just with my background in property management, there's some definite life safety issues that I think make it a non-negotiable. I think it's either do it or move. I mean, totally condemn it and get everybody out, or make the updates, is what I feel just from my observation.
Thank you for that. Duly noted.
I have a question. Will we be able to attend the pre-construction meeting with the chosen contractor on the 28th?
I'm gonna defer to Terry or Mike. I don't see why you could not, but if there's something in the way, Terry, do you see?
Mike needs to
Mike?
answer that.
Like, I can't say that there's any regulation that it's not a policy issue, but again, if you like.
I think I've attended one before, somewhere along the line.
As well, I'm just really concerned about, I saw the unit, so the renovations, it means more to me than just a piece of paper. Like, I really wanna see the meeting, the contractors. And so for me, it'll be more at peace, cause I saw it, I wanna see, you know, being on the meeting with the contractors and just be a part of this whole process, because that was not a pleasant visit for me. So,
We'll do is we'll make sure we give you those dates and times of that meeting, and to all the commissioners.
Thank you. And the other concern, along with Ms. Crutcher's on us, just getting the information at the last minute, was the use it or lose it nature of this. We let these 3 years of capital funds, which is a good thing, we let it build up when we have the resources to make these changes and improve the properties. But we talked Friday night again, me and Ms. McGinnis talked about maybe tabling this, maybe putting it off for a month, but time is of the essence here. There's a sense of urgency to get it done. And one other comment, and me and Ms. Crutcher talked about this, we were actually driving around Friday and looking at some of the other properties, and we came through here and looked at it. It's, you know, this neighborhood's going through a whole transformation. I mean, this Mill Creek redevelopment is maybe the biggest thing we've ever partnered and been involved in. So the whole corridor between, you know, the lifespan going forward may not be all that long, but we've got a duty and a responsibility to make these units inhabitable, safe, and sanitary. So with that, I'm in support of the resolution. And would welcome any more questions or
I just
comments
have
from
one
Ms.
quick-
Coleman Lacey.
I just have one quick, I guess maybe a request. I am a strategist and I respect the process, but for me, my bent will always be how the people are impacted by the process. And so when I look at the relocation costs, would love to know just what all goes into that from a human on. So if there was a way for me to have that as a follow-up to what I think is about to be a call for
Terry, do you have a moment to talk about how we've talked about and documented how we're gonna do phasing and how that affects or will affect the residents?
Sure. I don't know when you were driving through if you were able to go down Bedford Drive, and you probably noticed your first little cul-de-sac there is, for the most part, empty, because what we decided to do is to move in stages and move around the circle and starting there so they can start staging there. We want our residents to not be inconvenienced by, construction work going on within one of those cul-de-sacs, because it is a tight area. So by starting there and working in six phases as we work around, we relocated that first group into other units as vacancies became available in Butler Terrace and Lincoln, and I think a couple of people went. Those people have already relocated. Now, when the project is completed, those families, if they choose, can come back to LR Patton. Moving forward, what we'll do is, as they complete one cul-de-sac, the other families will be vacated from the units that they're in and move into the new units that have already been rehabilitated that are in LR Patton. And we'll keep doing that until the very end.
Yes, I think you explained that pretty well on the call last week. I guess my question is, sometimes we do things to people instead of with them and coming alongside them. What has been the communication effort so they understand the process of what's occurring and how they'll be a part of that process?
So starting way back in, I believe it was April, we had notifications. I think we've had 3 different letters go out to our families, and that we have not been moving residents in since April into LR Patton. So if a vacancy occurs where it won't even be rehab for, like, say another 6 months to 8 months, we are not moving families into those units because we don't want them to have to go through a relocation right after they move in. So we do have vacancies that are already done on the other, and they will just stay vacant until they are rehabilitated. So, because we want our families to know what's going on, and it's a good thing for the neighborhood, and that they will be able to return to an almost new unit when they do come back to those units. I feel like they probably have as much information at this point as we do, until we can move on farther and get a contractor in place and start talking about how that process is going to take effect.
Amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I got one minor question, and it's the obligation date at the top of the first budget page. What constitutes obligation of funds? Is it just the contract with the contractor, or is it breaking ground, or what's the trigger there?
So I think it's grant dates. So Teresa, you wanna?
Contract.
Signing of the contract?
As soon as that contract is signed, that money.
In reference to the responses and what you're doing, I want to commend you all for the effort that you put into this. As a child, I went through this exact transformation with Spartan Homes, having moved over tears. So I appreciate the efforts in the scheduling. Obviously, I have met some of you met. There's a young lady there that's heavily engaged with Huntsville High. Now, I hope she'll be able to invite her friends to her home at a later date, based off of what you do.
Thank you. And along those lines, I just see some of our partners in the community doing such amazing work at Northwoods, Johnson Towers, Cersei Homes, and some of our other nonprofits and cluster centers. Focus on our people up here and see about doing what we can to help, and also landscaping. If you haven't been over to Cersei Homes lately and seen what they've done with the grounds, and then the inside of that scout building, the community building, it's a combination for rent office. I was gonna talk about this at the end of the meeting today, but I just mention it now. We'll speak about it a little bit more with Commissioner Sullivan, and he came over and did an incredible job on the floors over there. It's just been a transformation. Approval of the resolution is presented.
I motion for approval.
Commissioner Sullivan? Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Second, Commissioner Crutcher. Any discussion among the board? Anybody have anything else we need to comments? Being none, all those in favor of approval of the resolution as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you so much for that. I think, just a quick comment, any constructive criticism we're offering, if it feels like it's all about getting better, we're not, nothing.
Final rule action plan. So the self-sufficiency program it has a few new rules. So the purpose of this board resolution is so that HHA will adopt a plan before implementing the new The purpose of the FSS action plan is to establish policies for conducting our family self-sufficiency program. It is resolution number 2022-24, whereas the Huntsville Housing Authority must have a HUD-approved action plan before implementing the FSS program, whereas the action plan must comply with the requirements specified by HUD for the FSS plan regulations when establishing these policies, whereas HHA's FSS program cannot operate until we have adopted this plan. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the Huntsville Housing Authority that any questions?
Any questions, comments?
I will say this, I hate to keep doing personal stuff, but I am who I am. I do want for the family self-sufficiency coordinators and those folks that understand how this program works. I have a young lady who I assisted when Mr. Lundy was here a month ago. Before she thought they were going to take her escrow. She just recently sold her home and ended up with about $100,000 in profit. So, for anybody, know that what you're doing is life-changing. And it'll change, actually, not just life-changing for the individual, it's generational.
Thank you. That,
Well, I made the observation about not having the adequate time to really look through the other proposal, but I did have time to read every word of this plan and just could hardly get through it without emotion and just really proud of being part of some amazing work that's being done in our city. And so I think with anything, you always have an opportunity to develop it, and I think you guys are looking at this on a regular basis, but it was just, as a newbie, it was pretty amazing to be able to read through and to be able to say that you're a part of what's happening and that you're checking yourself on how to become better. It's just, I think nothing but a good thing.
as an oldie, we've seen and heard stories from the authority for years of how this transformed people's lives, and we've all known people personally and had commissioners here that served on years here. She was the first graduate living in council court, and she always reminds me of that. First one through FSS, bought a house, and I think we've had a lot of success stories like that through the years. So I appreciate the improvements to the language and the programs, and hopefully we can continue to make it bigger and much better than it's ever been before.
So just as a point of clarity, the only parts that were changed in this were the highlighted portions, is that, as I was reading it?
Yes.
Yeah. No more questions or comments from Ms. Coleman Lacey? At this time, the chair would entertain a motion for approving the resolution.
Motion to approve.
Second. Willie, second by Mr. Sullivan. All of, well, any more discussion for the board? If none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. I think those were all the items. At this time, I'll call on our Chief Executive Officer for his comments.
All righty. I want to thank the board again for the time that you did have to review this information, without getting spiritual, for praying for it and doing what you had to do. So, for me, at this time, we need to lighten the room a little bit. So I want to bring forth a program that I think is going to just add more ammunition to what we are trying to do for our residents. And I wanted to, Mr. Fountain and I, for the last 20-some years, have talked about Youth Build. Youth Build is one of those programs that we've been trying to get here for a very long time. My first time with the Housing Authority, we talked about it. We never could get the grant. I know there have been different agencies who tried to get it here. And this time we applied, and I didn't think we were going to get it, and we got it. And immediately, I just started going through a list of people who I thought would be perfect to bring to the table for this program. People who specialize in every one of the areas that I feel like would take this program to. We gave opportunity to those who've been to me 2 years ago for a project very similar. And so I'm gonna give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. And I would ask that, you know, it ain't your time to shine right now, but take about a minute. And I'm gonna start with our program director and allow her the opportunity to come up and introduce herself and anything she'd like to say.
Hello, I'm Jacqueline Deans. I am the Youth Field Project Director. I am very who do not currently have their GED. So my staff and I were in the communities now. We're doing some recruitment. We're looking to help them obtain their GED. We want them to be able to become more productive citizens in the community. Affordable housing. We also have our counselor, which they're going to come up here too, but still. The counselor, where they'll be able to provide some one-on-one counseling services. And then we also have job readiness skills, Mr. Sept, where they'll be able to kind of become career ready, job ready. So we're just thrilled, we're excited, and you guys are going to see Youth Field, we're about to take off. So just get ready.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, good afternoon. So, my name is George Sept. I am real excited about this opportunity. I kind of walked away from corporate America some years ago, 2005. I've always been in and out of the Boys and Girls Club and just this community and the people. So met some of these people that are on the board, and I'm just really excited about this. I've been doing this just kind of naturally. I like to get involved with young people. I like to help them with their life skills, actually, whatever it may be. So getting jobs for kids has been a big part of what I've been doing for a little while, and Mr. McGinn has asked me, and I couldn't be more excited. This is fantastic. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Sept.
Good afternoon. My name is Lester Burgess. I am the construction manager. I was able to talk with Mr. Guinness for about 3 years. We went back and forth about trade, about kids being able to get in trade and where it existed now, where prices going up for trade and kids not being able to get work, finding a way to combine them. I've been doing plumbing and general contracting in the city for about 25 years. And there was a need, and we talked back and forth. No, we need to find a way to pay these kids, find a way to give them something for their time. When he told me about the U-Bill, I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is awesome. This is exactly what we need. And I was suggesting tons of people. He's like, well, Lester, what about you? I was like, well, what about me? He's like, well, you've been passionate about this project for 3 years. You've been in my office, meetings, suggestions, ideas, buzzing around with this. What do you have? What can you bring to the table? So he gave me the opportunity. I'm excited about it. I'm a little nervous because I've been in the construction field. This white collar stuff is not my jam, but in the same sense, he said, you have an idea. And I believe in you, so I'm gonna let you loose. So we're excited. We need you guys' help. Look out for us, support us, and keep pushing us. If you see us struggling, set us back straight and keep us going. And we're looking forward to keep doing this for a long, long time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Quite a team.
Good afternoon. My name is Sherelle. I'm a youth bill counselor. I'm excited to be a part of the youth bill team. I've worked with at-risk youth for many years. I have a passion for mental health, so I'm excited to be a part of this program. I've worked with youth in the foster care system with preparing them to live after they leave the foster care system, connecting them to resources, independent living skills, as well as counseling services, making referrals to the community, forming partnerships, and letting them know what happens, when you start living on your own. And so I'm excited to work with this program and being in contact with their families and linking them to resources and continue to help this program grow and get off the ground. So
Let's make it great.
All right, that's our youth bill team. Again, I'm excited about that. I wanted to also give Lakeisha Wheeler an opportunity to come to the mic. If you go on our Facebook page, our social media pages, if you have an opportunity to see anything that we've been doing, if you don't like us right now, like us on all of those social media platforms. There's something that's going out every day about the Housing Authority. There's something that you all will be able to see, and that's something that we wanted. We started talking about people and getting ourselves out there, so she's been doing an incredible job of making sure that we're visible in the community, and I wanted her to just introduce herself and her background as well.
Hello all, I was not prepared for this, but I am Lakeisha Wheeler. Most people call me Kiki, or Kiki 360 Human Radio. I went to Alabama A&M University, so I have a master's there and an undergrad in graphic design. I love what I do every day. I would love to help them grow and get them out there and just look better in the community. So that's what I'm here to do, make it look good.
Very good.
Thank you. And I don't know if many of you know David Driscoll. He has his own company as well. He and Kiki work closely together. He's doing most of the media relations. She's doing up the social media part. And so we've been able to create a great team to add to the team that we already have here at the Housing Authority. As you know, I've been looking at the meeting through this iPad that we're going to provide to all the board members, because, this is a lot of paper. And we want to go digital. This is something that I've been thinking about for the last 2 years. We've tried some different kind of pads, but this way, it'll give us an opportunity to have all your files in one place. It'll give you an opportunity to keep up with your notes. And I'm gonna let Neil just talk to us briefly about the features of this iPad and what it's gonna do for us as we move forward.
Yeah, I'll just kind of briefly mention a few things. Tony and I have been speaking over the past year or so about doing things differently. With Zoom meetings and everything, so everything's really different. But I think based on what we've come up with, we're going to get some software. The one we're looking at right now is called Board Pro, and basically it creates a environment for the board to collaborate, and we have like an agenda building area where each different team can upload documents. It kind of builds the agenda for us, and every board member will get their own, and council will get their own Housing Authority email address, as opposed to everybody having their own individual email. We just felt like it'd be better if we just issued you a device, which would be an iPad. It'll be yours as long as you're a board member. It'll be your official means of communication with us. Things that we, send back and forth will go through that email account. And then notation area, you can do it. You don't have to use the iPad necessarily for the notation. You can do it from any computer because it is a website-based system. So you can make your notations and markups on there. And then during the meeting itself, like Mr. McGinnis is testing today, you can, use the app to view it or to view even your annotations, things like that. We can even do voting through it if we chose to try to, help to sort of build the minutes as the meeting progresses. But anyway, if y'all have, or Gene Leonard, he is IT staff also. Not kill trees like Tony always says. Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, just want to give you all a quick update for real estate. We've got a lot of stuff in the fire that you will be ready to hear about next week. We got some real estate projects going on at apartment homes, the Gateway Land disposition, Choice Neighborhood Initiative. We should be hearing more about that, and also we have an agreement with Brian Bank over at the Twickenham project, so you'll hear more about that at the next board meeting, and that's all I have.
Following up just briefly on the technology stuff, as we all know, is not my forte. I'm gonna try to end Zoom meetings. I didn't think that one went well Thursday. I didn't think that we've had incidents in the past where I think there was a real miscommunication. So I know Ms. Crutcher and probably Mr. Lowe and others are, one Zoom meeting after another all day, and I've seen them really effective one-on-one, but for a big group meeting, so obviously everybody can't be at every meeting, so we like to be working on having it remote. If we sit in the boardroom, like for a preliminary board meeting at the Housing Authority, and somebody needs to call in, we need to be set up to have them come in from a remote location, but I'll be there and in person if I can, not absent in red letters. So anyway, just a comment, while it was on my mind, I wanted to make that. Anybody signed up for public comments, or is there anybody from the public here that wants to speak? None? But this time we'll go to our commissioner comments, and we'll start down here with Mr. Lowe and Ms. Crutcher, who I failed to properly introduce. We were sort of discombobulated coming back from the property, and I was a little rusty at running a public meeting. So if you want to make a couple of introductory comments about yourself for the folks here that hadn't had the opportunity to meet you, that'd be great. And otherwise, just the floor is open for you to make any comments you'd like to. Start with Mr. Lowe down here.
Yeah, appreciate it. Dr. Lowe, and born and raised here in Huntsville. Went to Auburn, got 3 degrees in electrical engineering, came back, had a good career in engineering. Took a little time off to do some food and beverage, went back. The chief scientist working with the software company here in town. Really excited to be part of this board, just to really look out for our community.
Legacy here, she was the founder of the Cornerstone Initiative, which has spawned Jobs for Life and some of the really good work in the community. So we appreciate your family, appreciate your commitment.
I definitely claim my parents.
Yeah, your dad's been heavily involved as well. Ms. Crutcher?
Yes, my name is Shonda Crutcher. My undergrad education, I'm a biologist in administrator. And I started the first geriatric care management firm here in Huntsville with about 100 employees, master level social workers, nurses, home care. And we also started the Legacy Center, which is a geriatric care management firm here, 20,000 square foot community center that we partnered with the Housing Authority. And it was just such an honor to sit at this table and be a part of this process. Great respect for Tony McGinnis and the work that the reputation becomes a contestable conversation. I'd love to just come walk alongside and see the wonderful work that's happening in our community. I don't know if that's allowed, Tony, but I would love to. I've been able to see the senior communities up close and personal. I'm not as familiar with some of the other projects and learning about needs every day that seniors, and so we just love to see the wonderful work that you're doing and understand first.
Staff members, as much as you want, as long as you don't talk about me.
Wild? Thank you. Thank you for that, Mr. McGinnis, and thank you, Ms. Crutcher, and thank you for the work you've done. I've been proud to volunteer with your organization and the food service program and to go into Johnson Towers with you. Thank you for all you've done for our elderly and continue to do that. Really appreciate it. Commissioner Sullivan?
Oh, I got a GED. I don't know how I compare this. But welcome to the board. I'm glad to have you all. I didn't know y'all were nerds before, but definitely know that you use those brains here, especially with this new chair we have. But in all seriousness, yeah, thank you all for doing what you do. I have to say this in regards to my current chair. He and the executive director did have some conversations last week. Some of that conversation got spilled over into me and the executive director's conversation. And to be honest with you, at the time, I didn't know how to feel. But today, Mr. Fountain let me know kind of why I've loved the man for over 30 years. So, just, yeah, we'll talk about that later. But, and then this staff, and I see an all-star team. I've been all over the country talking about Mike, this chair for years. But this crew that he's added, I know some of them well. And I know this, you have an all-star team, sir. Definitely have, even though I don't like Mr. Sept. You have an all-star team. But yeah, thank you all for your service. Thank you, Mr. Fountain. It's all right.
Thank you very much for those kind words. And, I've joked with Ms. Crutcher before. She can make me cry on command when we're having a personal conversation like nobody else has ever done. But you about got to me there, and I appreciate you coming from the heart. I really do. You know that. Ms. Willie?
Yes, I piggyback off of Commissioner Sullivan. This is sad. You have become one of my favorites. Because the program that you guys are doing is, the Youth Bill is an amazing program. I have had a chance to experience it firsthand. And because you guys have, Mr. Sept has taken in my son, who is always, like, he is a visionary. He sees it one way. He sees basketball and food in his future 24/7. But Mr. Sept took him under his wing and was able to allow him to be a part of the youth build and go in and do some renovations. And now he is at home moving stuff, building stuff. Like, he just, it's another, let me see a different kid. So I think this is going to be a great program because we tend to lose the gaps. You lose those people in the churches, you lose them in the work industry. And so this program is going to be amazing because he even was like, I don't want to go to my orientation. I want to go to work with Mr. Sept. So thank you for putting that work into my child who wants to work.
Thank you very much. He's just doing what he's always done.
Yeah, great job.
We appreciate it. So I'll close out. I'm gonna tell a quick little story. Something happened to me this weekend. It's kind of funny. I'm the butt of the joke. But it all follows. I mean, we do have an all-star team, and we're positioned to do some things. I was joking around with the two board members, the new board members the other day, and I said, we were talking about, we've never done certain things before. We've never done that meeting before like we did last month. And I said, but it's all got to start with communication. Ms. Crutcher introduced me to the term relational equity, which I used even in your video. Commissioner was talking about emotional equity, but equity where you invest in the relationship. And I thought about that a lot and used that a lot. When I first met her, she was talking about relational equity is the most valuable form of currency that we have today. Well, there's only one way to build the relationships, and that's through communication. And we all struggle with that in every aspect of communication-wise, but we've got to work on that. And we're going to be intentional about working on those homes that I just thought, and this is not relating to anything we've talked about with what we were talking about with our hitting the reset button and what happened Thursday or anything, but it just hit me. Working with those kids having this big serve day, and this little boy who's my little buddy, Fahim, he's 7, and we've done a lot, the Housing Authority's done a lot to help his family. They moved up from Birmingham, and I've gotten real close with him and his brothers and sisters. There's 7 kids. He comes running up to me. I'm standing out in front of the building. We're about to go on a bike ride. And throws his arms around me and says, "Hey, Coach Fountain." He was just so excited to see me. And I was like, "Hey, buddy, hey, Fahim." And he looks up at me and he goes, "You lied." Kids don't have a filter. They tell it how it is. And I looked at him and I knew what he was talking about immediately, but I was kind of stalling for a minute. I was like hoping it was something else, because he had me dead to rights. And I said, "What did I lie about, Fahim?" And he said, "You said the Boys and Girls Club was going to open 2 weeks ago over here, and you promised that the Boys and Girls," and we had the club open over there all summer, and they came, he and his 4 brothers and sisters came every single day, and it meant a lot to them. They'd come over here from public housing in Birmingham, stall, and they'd come up with some excuses and reasons, and finally I just looked at him and I said, "You're right." I told him Labor Day weekend we had a big serve day over there, and I said, "I'll see y'all Wednesday. The Boys and Girls Club's going to open Wednesday, and I'll be here." And it meant a lot to him, and I just kind of, it just slipped by on me, and I was like, so I was thinking, what could I have done better? I could have stopped by their house. They lived right there at 410 on Dallas Street, and let them know and said, "Man, we've run in." I could have thrown Patrick Wynn under the bus and blamed it on him for not getting the club open. I could have made a lot of excuses. Sees him every day at Blossomwood School to tell him, say, "Hey, Coach Fountain wanted you to know that he's sorry, but the club's not going to be getting open here till it's going to open next Monday, a week from today." But I was like, that's important. I mean, it was important, real important to him, and it's important to me, and I thought it was a good illustration. It's kind of just a funny little story, because he busted me for lying. But I'm going to try to do better in all aspects, and I'm definitely going to make sure, we've been through COVID, talk about hitting the reset button. I mean, we've been through this being removed and relationships fractured and all that, and I think it's time for us to circle the wagons here. I'm going to do a much improved job of what I've done in the past, communicating with my other board members, and I hope that'll carry on to all the work. He's a straight shooter. All right, anything else to come before the board at this time? Anything else? All right, if not, we'll stand adjourned.